Shall I start? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamuna Tiravanatari Yamuna Tiravanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamuna Tiravanatari Yamuna Tiravanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamuna Tiravanatari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnu Padparamahansa Parivata Kataya Sutara Sata Sri Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Navana Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Seko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Narasimhadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Sri Navadvid Mayapudam Ki Jai, Sri Vrindavan Mathuradam Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Yamuna Maya Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samavita Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Who understands no German? Who understands no German? Yes? Und wer versteht kein Englisch? Okay, ja. Gut. Also, aber du hast mich verstanden. Sonst hättest du das nicht gesagt. So, dann, ich werde auf Deutsch sprechen. Who can translate for Mataji? From German to English? But from English to German? No. It's not good. Kann jemand anderes übersetzen? In irgendeiner... Auf Englisch ins Deutsch. Okay, then we speak in English. I decided I will speak in English. If you like, you can stay. Ist das okay? Kannst du für Kishorik und Mataji übersetzen? Ist hier das Buch? Okay. So we're reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the Spotless Purana. We're reading Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. We're reading chapter 7, yes, verse 31. Ja, also Mataji hat das Buch, du musst nicht hetzen, solange die Erläuterung geht. Aber ich werde schon anfangen. Okay. Brahmo Vata Naitat Svarupang Pavato Supada Naitat Svarupang Pavato Supadartha Naitat Svarupang Pavato Supadartha Veda Grahai Puruso Yavadiksit Vedha Grahai Puruso Yavadiksit Jnanasya Chartasya Gunasya Chasrayo Jnanasya chartasya gunasya chashrayo. Mahamayad vyatirikto matastvam. Maya mayad vyatirikto matastvam. Brahmovata naitat svarupang bhavatu supadartha. Bedha grahai puruso yavadiksit. Jnanasya chartasya gunasya chashrayo. Maya mayad vyatirikto matastvam. Vata. Jnanasya chartasya gunasya chashrayo. Maya mayad Someone? Brahmovata Brahmovata naitat svarupang bhavatu supadartha. Bedha grahai puruso yavadiksit. Jnanasya chartasya gunasya chashrayo. Maya mayad vyatirikto matastvam. Brahmovata naitat svarupang bhavato sopadartha. Grahai puruso yavadiksit. Brahma uvata. Lord Brahma said, Na, not, etat, this, svarupam, eternal form, bhavataha, your, aso, that other, pada artha, knowledge, veda, different, grahai, by the acquiring, purusaha, person, yavat, as long as, ikshit, wants to see, jnanasya, of knowledge, cha, also, artasya, of the objective, gunasya, of the instruments of knowledge. Cha, also. Ashrayaha, the basis. Mayat, from being made of material energy. Vyatiriktaha, distinct. Mataha, regarded. Tvam, you. Translation. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, your personality and eternal form cannot be understood by any person who is trying to know you through the different processes of acquiring knowledge. Your position is always transcendental to the material creation, whereas the empiric attempt to understand you is material, as are its objectives and instruments." Purport. It is said that the transcendental name, qualities, activities, paraphernalia, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be understood with our material senses. The attempt of the empiric philosophers to understand the absolute truth by speculation is always futile, because their process of understanding, their objective, and the instruments by which they try to understand the absolute truth are all material. The Lord is aprakrita, beyond the creation of the material world. This fact is also accepted by the great impersonalist Shankaracharya. Narayana paro vyaktad andam avyakta sambhavam. Avyakta, or the original material cause, is beyond this material manifestation and is the cause of the material world. Because Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond the material world, one cannot speculate upon him by any material method. One has to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by the transcendental method of Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 1855. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by devotional service can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. The difference between the impersonalists and the personalists is that the impersonalists, limited by their speculative processes, cannot even approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the devotees please the Supreme Personality of Godhead through His transcendental loving service. Se von mukhe hi. Due to the service attitude of the devotee, the Lord is revealed to him. The Supreme Lord cannot be understood by materialistic persons, even though He is present before them. The Supreme Lord cannot be understood by materialistic persons, even though He is present before them. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna therefore condemns such materialists as mudhas. Mudha means Mudha means rascal. It is said in the Gita, only rascals think of Lord Krishna as an ordinary person. They do not know that Lord Krishna's position is, or what Lord Krishna's position is, or what His transcendental potencies are. Unaware of His transcendental potencies, the impersonalists deride the person of Lord Krishna, whereas the devotees, by dint of their service attitude, can understand Him as the personality of Godhead. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also confirmed that it is very difficult to understand the personality of the Lord. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Ganandala Shalakaya Taksuran Militangena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Ong Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pasatyade Satarine Vandehang Sri Guru Sri Uttapada Kamalang Sri Gurun Vaisnavangscha Sri Rupang Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadutang Parijana Sahitang Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Sri Vishakan Vitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpatrubhya Kripa Sindhubhe Vata Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, your personality and eternal form cannot be understood by any person who is trying to know you through the different processes of acquiring knowledge. Your position is always transcendental to the material creation, whereas the empiric attempt to understand you is material, as are its objectives and instruments." Hare Krishna. So, we welcome everyone who has come today to attend to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the personification of Krishna. And here in the purport we hear Sevonmukhe hi, and the verse continues Jiva do, that by service Krishna becomes revealed. And that is what we are doing actually by attending to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Prahlad Maharaj is telling that Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, that the first two steps in devotional service are hearing and chanting. And this is what we do when we come in contact with Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And that is so nice. So it's always good to remember that when we sit here in the morning, we make sure that our day will be good and auspicious. Because even while staying in the temple, it is our consciousness is still very much in the realm of matter, so we may easily become mechanical in doing so many things. But if that remembrance of Krishna is not there, then it is incomplete. And remembrance is the next result of Shravanam Kirtanam. So by hearing and speaking about Krishna, we prepare ourselves to remember Krishna throughout the day. And in that way we apply the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna told Arjuna all the time, you have to think of me and you have to do your work. You have to think of Krishna and you have to do your work. And Arjuna is always asking again and again, so should I work or should I think of you? And Krishna is always telling that you have to do both. So, like that. So Krishna is only realized through service, devotional service, with remembrance of him. So that is needed. And otherwise, how can we try to realize Krishna, who is beyond this matter, who is beyond this material energy? That is the main topic in the purport, that or also of the verse, Brahma here is saying that he's praying to Vishnu, who has appeared in the sacrificial arena, and he's telling that you are transcendental. Krishna is transcendental from top to bottom. His whole body is a transcendental Yeah, there's nothing beyond Krishna, so you cannot compare him, but Krishna is transcendental. He is the ultimate transcendental entity. And so, and Brahma here is making the point that the person who tried to know God with their intellect and mind, how can they do it? Because their mind is material and their intelligence is also material. So something material, how can it ever grasp something spiritual? And this point is so deep because even to be on the level of knowledge is not so small. The knowledge relates to sattva guna. A person who is situated in sattva guna, he can properly deal with knowledge. So, and as much as we are not situated in sattva guna, even the realm of the mind and intellect, they are a little blurred for us. They're not so. We cannot completely engage on that level. We can. It's not so. We cannot go so deep. So, then, if even a person who can think very nicely, very very refined ways and very elaborately, a person who is a real philosopher, if even such a person cannot grasp transcendence, then what to speak of a general person who is very much on the level of the senses, and who therefore his main activity is to work. Like I have that personal experience that if I don't do enough physical work in a day, then I feel somehow I'm not properly exhausted, I'm not properly engaged. So, and most of us, I think, feel like that a lot, that we have to do some menial service. And even if you're a philosopher, then still it's difficult, because this planet Earth is very gross, and then still you have to deal with your body a lot, even if you're inclined to think. But so whether we are working on a gross level or whether we're working on a subtle level, both within the material energy, that cannot touch Krishna in itself. That can never touch Krishna. But then the beautiful thing is that if you use your gross and subtle work to serve Krishna, then you will come to the point of devotion. If you come to the point of devotion, then Krishna, he becomes attracted by that. And when Krishna becomes attracted by that, then he will say, okay, I show you something, I give you something. So that is very, that is the beauty of the devotional principle, that the same endeavors which can never touch Krishna, but if they are devoted to him, then he will become attracted to reveal himself. You can never get Krishna. It is always a matter of revelation. It is always a matter of Krishna showing. And then that is the difference between ultimately a person who is making progress in life and the person who is not making progress in life. That the end of all his endeavors are devotion. Bhagavad Gita, here Prabhupada is mentioning the word muda, the rascal, and the rascal cannot know Krishna. The person who is basically not surrendering, never surrendering. That is Bhagavad Gita. 4 types of people. Krishna is saying they will never surrender to me. And whether they are just a muda, in that verse in Bhagavad Gita, muda means just a person who is working hard for nothing. He is just inclined to work hard. And then also the person who is trying to understand things, mayaya paritta jnana, but his knowledge is stolen by illusion. His knowledge is completely given to matter, which is dull and which will make him small-minded and foolish. So, what else? Naradama, a person who has no principles in life. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Bhagavan ki jai. And the person of outspoken demonic disposition. Those 4 people, they cannot surrender. They are lacking in piety, and therefore they can never surrender. At no point in their endeavors, whether gross or subtle, they will ever surrender. They will ever pray to God. They will never do that. In no condition. So that is a demonic personality. And then on the other side, the person, a pious person, also again, whether he's very gross or subtly inclined, whether he's simply praying because he's coming in a position of distress, or he feels that he needs something, or wants something, or whether he is just thinking, oh, what is there? He's a little inquisitive, or a person who is really determined to understand what is the goal of life. If such person are pious, if persons with such inclinations are pious, then whatever endeavor they do, the end will be devotion. The end will be prayer. The end will be a sense of something higher is there, and I will take shelter of something sublime. So, and that starting to take shelter, that is then what makes Krishna reciprocate in some way. And he will even give chances to so many other people also. We always see that anyway, that is a different topic. So that crux is so strong, that difference between is the end devotion or not. And then Krishna is saying that these 4 pious people, they start worshipping, so it's not the end. And that is ultimately our bottom line. As soon as we take to devotional activities, then are we staying with that? Are we only turning to Krishna when we are suffering? Are we only turning to Krishna actively when we want money or something else for ourselves? Or are we but then no, Rupa Goswami, in our line, he's giving us the teaching that Uttama Bhakti, the ultimate pure form of Bhakti, there is no motive. You don't want anything else from Krishna. And whatever jnana karmadi anavritam, and whatever activities you perform, and whatever knowledge you acquire, whatever endeavors you perform, it will never cover your devotion. So the devotion becomes the prominent thing in the life of a devotee who is advanced, or who is advancing. The devotion becomes prominent, and pure and advancement of a devotee depends on his capacity to reject anything for the sake of being a pure devotee, of being always devoted to Krishna. I heard once there was one incident about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is known as a very, very learned personality. So learned, such extremely learned, extremely scholarly, extremely refined in intellect. And it happened that he was writing some manuscript, he was writing a book, and it was still very early days of industry. So he was writing with ink. And if you write with ink, I don't know if he was writing with a feather or something like that, but he had an ink bottle next to the pages he was writing on. And also on the same table there were some bananas lying there. And those bananas were meant for the deities. And I don't know which place in India it was, but it was some place where there are monkeys. It was a place in India where monkeys are also there. And and in that instance, somehow one monkey from outside, he noticed that bananas are in the room. And that monkey, he came into the room and he was running for the bananas. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was so alert and he was so quick that he immediately sensed and he protected the bananas. But he jumped up from the table to protect the bananas. And the table shook and the ink glass fell over and the whole manuscript got filled with ink. Meaning the manuscript was gone. It was gone. The whole text was gone. So shows the exalted position of the pure devotee. He will never consider anything more important than service. So the bananas are meant for the Lord, and I imagine he never hesitated, and the manuscript was gone. The knowledge was becoming unmanifest. It was gone. So he was not attached that my book is more important than the service of the Lord. He was never attached like that. So that is a pure devotee. So he always considers the devotional service first. And in our own lives, in our daily activities, in our worship, we can see, am I like this? Or, what am I more attached to? Am I always fully attached to doing what I consider my service to the Lord? Or am I becoming more attached to playing the harmonium in kirtan? What is more important, the holy name or the harmonium? Am I playing nicely every tune, or am I giving full attention to Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna? What is my priority? Or when I have my free time and I balance my study and my relaxation and all these things, am I attached to functioning properly in devotional service, or am I attached to learn that verse? Or so many verses, or read so many pages. Or when we are being served prasadam, am I attached to honoring prasadam, or am I attached to eating a lot? So, on all levels, in all activities, we can always look at this. We can always check. Or when we're cooking in the kitchen, am I attached to make the preparation like this, or am I more attached to finishing on time, so that the Lord gets his meal on time? So we can always look at ourselves in all activities in the day. Am I interested in this one particular thing, which is material in itself, or am I attached to offering something properly to the Lord, serving the Lord properly? And the moment that I become interested in the Lord, then it is not material anymore. Whatever comes in contact with Krishna, it is spiritualized. It is not material anymore. And that is also what we hear about Srila Prabhupada again and again, that Srila Prabhupada, he would always breathe, he would live for Krishna. It was 100%. It was not some he always lived for Krishna. No, it means at every moment we are doing only for Krishna. In the Prabhupada Lilamrita, there is one mention that in the first days when Srila Prabhupada was in the USA, in New York, there was, and he had his small storefront, 26th 2nd Avenue, Matchless Gifts, and people started coming. Some young men and ladies started coming to him and hearing his lectures, and they became interested to serve him, and gradually some community of followers developed. And then there was one and within that setting, Srila Prabhupada, he would give sometimes he would give some money to some of his boys, to do something. And then in one instance, one person was asking for 50 cents, and at that moment I forgot, I think it was a bus ticket or something like this. So Srila Prabhupada, he gave 50 cents to maybe Brahmananda, I don't remember, so that he could go on his bus. And then one other young boy, he was watching that, and he was so amazed that Prabhupada, he did not just go into his pocket with his hand and roughly get the coin and throw it into the hand or like that. No, he was doing it with such elegance, with such care, and that person, he was so amazed that he realized that the way how Srila Prabhupada is taking from a small purse that 50 pieces of sand, he was describing the hand is gliding it's hovering over the purse, and then it's gently, and it's going down, and very, very consciously, very nicely. And it's taking those 50 cents and lifting above again, and then that hand is flying to the hand of the other person, and it's dropping it there. And all so elegantly, and that person who was observing, he was amazed. He was thinking that, yes, Srila Prabhupada, this how he's taking those 50 cents and giving it to another person. He's fully conscious of Krishna. He's fully conscious that he's giving that for Krishna. And that's his devotional service to Krishna, to give those 50 cents to that other person. And one disciple of Srila Prabhupada himself, he was giving a lecture once, and he said that Srila Prabhupada, he would breathe for Krishna. So that was his level of devotion, his level of devotional service. And as much as this bhakti, this devotion, is not covered by our activities and by our gross activities, which are doing with our senses, or by our subtle activities, which are done by our mind and intellect. All those activities, when we advance, that is advancement. That these activities will never cover our devotion to Krishna, our honest desire to please Krishna. So that is the challenge that this movement is giving to everyone. And how far can we go from day to day? When someone approaches us on this shopping street somewhere, some city, and gives us Prabhupada's book, can we take it? After we take the book, can we read it? After we read, okay, now you're in the process of devotional service. If you're serious, then you will start applying. And how thorough is our application? So that is the crux. And that is the challenge Srila Prabhupada has given to all conditioned souls. And we can try today and see how much essence of devotion do we have, or how much leaning is there to karma and jnana. And depending on that, then, how pure is the devotion? That is how much Krishna will reveal himself. When devotion becomes full, then the revelation is also full. It's explained like this, that and we will especially experience our advancement in the chanting of the holy name. How much taste do we have for chanting? That is the criterion. That is the criteria for how much Krishna is showing. And because it says, Krishna, he's not different from his name. And then Krishna reveals himself especially through the name. And it says through the name. First, it is realized that the name is non-different from Krishna himself. And then, through the name, will be revealed Krishna's form, and his character, his qualities, and his pastimes as well. And then also we will realize who we are, spiritually. So, like that. Okay, I will stop here. Is there any... Now it depends on you. Is there any questions or comments from anyone?
One more story from Prabhupada, please. You can tell it so nicely. Please, one more story from Prabhupada.
One more story of Prabhupada. You can tell it so nicely. Okay, I was thinking about this. Yes, okay. Hare Krishna. So, okay, I'm doing service in the kitchen these days. So I'm thinking about this also. That there was one. Yes, actually, that is true. Yeah. Anyway, so that was Srila Prabhupada. He had moved on to San Francisco from New York in early '67, and there also he repeated the same principle. His disciples, they got a storefront for him, and then they started preaching. And the thing in San Francisco was that somehow always couples came to Srila Prabhupada. And he would basically, in one stretch, he would initiate them and he would also marry them. So it was almost like he would initiate them and a few days later the wedding would be also there. and there was one young couple like this, and the lady, she came to Srila Prabhupada and said that, okay, we would like to get married and initiated. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, okay. And then Srila Prabhupada said that on the way of your wedding, you have to come to my apartment. And you will help in cooking the feast. Srila Prabhupada would always make sure that for the weddings there are some feasts, like very special preparations. And on that day, the lady, she came, a young girl, I think she was only 18 years old. She came to his place, and he showed her a pot, a big pot. And on the inside it was relatively clean. It was all right, but on the outside it was very black. and Srila Prabhupada said, this pot we will use to boil the milk. We will boil milk with this big pot. and so he told her that, you please just clean that pot first. And so the young girl, she was seeing the pot and she was thinking, okay, I will clean it. And she cleaned the inside. She cleaned the inside part. And it went quick because it was not dirty. And she brought the pot back to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, very nice. This is very nice. But there's this small black part outside, small spot. Please clean that also. And so the pot was quite big, so she could not do that with any sink. So she brought it to the bathtub in that apartment. And she started scrubbing. Very tough work. And she was scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing. And then she was thinking that, yeah, now I really worked hard. And some black is still there, but this will never go off. Will never go off. And so she brought the pot back to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada, he saw the pot and he said, very nice, but there's one small speck still. So she went back and she was continuing and scrubbing more. And then the person itself, it's just a record. I think it must have been some recorded interview. And then Mataji was reflecting that now the pot was so clean, it was really shining. And she brought it back to Srila Prabhupada. And then he said, very nice. And then they used that pot to boil the milk, and they made rasagulas on that day. So, and that's interesting. And that is also related to this topic, actually, that we need the mercy of a spiritual master. We need the mercy of someone who brings out our devotion, actually. Because on our own, we would never be so devoted. We always need the Ramananda Gopal Prabhu. Yesterday he chastised me, and at first moment I was so upset, and I was so emotionally disturbed. but then I reflected on it, and I thought it's very good. It's very good. I need this much more. I think if I would always be chastised, I would never become mental about it. If you can't become used to anything, and if you will become used to being chastised, that will be very good for us. If we don't become mentally hung up on, oh, this person chastised me. No, we will just consider that, yes, I have to do better in my devotional service. So, and in that instance, Srila Prabhupada didn't chastise like that, but he made sure that this person is giving his everything. And the person, this Mataji she mentioned, she came in quite early in the day, like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and she was scrubbing the pot until 12 for 3 hours, working hard to clean that one pot, working very hard to clean that one pot. So So like that, we need that guidance of. We need that mercy of a pure devotee who will know how to bring out that devotion from us, because she didn't become upset with Srila Prabhupada. She was just humbly doing. So we need that, and whether we become upset or not, but our seniors, actually I am realizing this also, that the longer I practice Krishna consciousness, the more I also become a senior. So we have to learn that art of bringing out a lot of devotion out of other people. And that depends on how much devotion we have ourselves. It was said about Srila Prabhupada that he never asked something from anyone which he was not ready to do himself 1,000,000 times. Which means that he was always harder on himself than on others. And he was himself sold out to his own guru. So because of that quality, he was able to also demand so much from others without agitating. And that is also the qualification for being able to chastise. We will always see that a person who is very chastisement, the essence of chastisement is actually, that is my understanding, is to point out the truth. The essence of chastisement in devotional service is to show the truth to a person, which he doesn't like to see. Therefore, chastisement is necessary to break that layer of unwillingness to accept truth. Because Krishna consciousness relates to the truth. Krishna is the truth. So if you are reluctant to accept the truth, but you follow the process, then your senior, your guru, he will mercifully point out to you the truth by chastising, by throwing a bomb on your false ego. So, but Krishna is always with his internal potency, and Srimati Radharani is especially known in this world for her quality of compassion. So just like the divine couple always goes together ultimately, in the same way, I mean, those are such high topics, but in the same way, you cannot speak the truth strongly if you don't have compassion. So depending on how much compassion we have, we can be very straightforward. And Srila Prabhupada, it was all rascal, fool. And he could tell it to people in the face. And they would not become upset, because they would feel his compassion. I was so amazed by Trivikram Maharaj when he was here weeks ago. But he was so heavy in his disposition, in his external behavior. He was so heavy. And I was driving him to Passau to the Harinam, and I parked the car in front of the building, and he came out, and I offered my obeisances. And immediately he said, Why you're laying down here? You just show me where I can sit. He just showed me the way to the car. He was not saying, yes, very good. No, he was saying like, rascal. But then, especially on the way back, on the way to the Harinam, he was very silent and grave. And then on the way back, he was a little more relaxed, and he would talk a little. And then I felt that he's not only heavy. No, he's also his whole behavior is very soft. His whole behavior is very vulnerable. He's a very vulnerable person. He's so soft and like a small child. But at the same time, he's so heavy. So it's very interesting, those characteristics, they seem contradictory, but all those contradictions, they merge into a unit in great personalities. Yes. So actually we need that association of senior devotees who will chastise us, so that we build up our devotion and one day become advanced ourselves. Yes. Okay. Something else? Ramananda Gopal Prabhu. Yes.
First of all, I'm sorry that I chastised you, as you call it.
No. Yes.
It's Vaisheshika Prabhu says, I only live to be corrected.
Yes.
And this means there is no ego because they, as you explained about Srila Prabhupada, that he was always, but I'm sorry, but that he was always in line with the desire of Krishna, with service. So ego creates ego. If I chastise out of egoistic motive, then, as you said, we became agitated yesterday. So maybe there was some egoistic, how to say, tendency because I thought, oh, now because you didn't do, whatever, so I, something like that. So and this created some kind of reluctancy in you. But when somebody who is pure corrects you, then, or me, then we can just accept it because it's done out of service and not because out of egoistic pride or something like that. So I think that's the difference between a great soul and a small soul.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my reflection on it. To correct you.
Yes. Can I reflect back on that? Am I allowed? Well, I think you can say we're not a great soul, but we have to become a great soul. That's the mission of Krishna consciousness. So, and we become great by practice. So, I think to chastise a junior is the duty of a senior. And if we are okay, and then also that word chastisement. I mean, it's a question of like what you connotate with the word. Because Srila Prabhupada, he said, you always have to chastise, otherwise your child gets spoiled. So he also used the word chastisement. And you can say, okay, you use the word correction, but we mean the same thing, I guess. And it's not, and as you say, it's not a question of what we do, but is there false ego, or is it our service, or is it our sense gratification? And I have very limited experience in that, but I have some experience. Like there was a time when I tried to do what Munindra is doing now very nicely, and I tried to wake up bhaktas for Mangala Arati, and that was not easy, always. And I remember one time I remember sometimes I was very like insensitive. I was a little harsh maybe. But I can definitely say that by trying to do this I learned a lot. So I think we also learn a lot by doing. It is very rare that someone simply learns by hearing to do things perfectly. So for myself I see that this level of those kinds of relationships where we have to challenge a person in order to do our service properly, it is very difficult, and it's such an austerity not to know that I will upset someone else, and or how to say upset, but to know that this personally may become agitated in some way. But I noticed that we always speak about the community of Singhachalam. So within a community, those relationships have to unfold ultimately. That seniors have compassion, and in a spirit of compassion, they correct, and they use chastisement sometimes. So, but they can only do it as much as they are dedicated themselves. And ultimately, I think that you are. Anyway, that is maybe too much to the detail of the situation, but that principle is there. We have to learn to chastise with compassion, or we have to correct on the basis of compassion and be able to. And of course, first we have to conquer also. That is also difficult. I remember this. Also, sometimes I was being temple commander, and as much as I was very, very strongly trying to work on myself, that much I could go to the pot washer and tell him that here is a black spot, and this pot is in the wrong place, It doesn't belong here, it belongs there. So I noticed that I could be very strong with other people if I had been very strong with myself first. So, and as much as we can be strong on others, anyway, yeah, maybe it's not my position to speak more on that. I'm still in the kindergarten of such realizations. But I noticed this for myself. I back a lot. I back off a lot from that to be strict in a spirit of compassion, because it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to go into confrontations, but we learn so much from confrontations. But at the same time, too much confrontation is bad because it's also offensive if it's not perfect. So it's very difficult, but I think it's needed ultimately in our devotional relationships. And I'm sure in family life you have so many realizations about that, which I don't have. But in ashram life also. Yesterday there was one person next to me in the room next, and he was hearing the lecture really loud. And he was hearing a lecture of my guru. But I wanted to rest. And I become so disturbed. I was thinking I would like to take that phone and throw it out the window. And it should fly all over to the forest. And then only later I realized that, my God, my guru was speaking. I should have just humbly listened to my spiritual master instead of throwing out that phone. So whenever we live, I mean, it's the material world. It's a realm of lust, anger, greed, envy, madness, illusion. It's a terrible place, and we have to learn so much tolerance to be properly situated in this world. And help others to be properly situated in this world, in devotional service. So, it's difficult. Okay, so please don't take offense. I hope I didn't say anything which upset you unnecessarily. I don't. Okay. Yes. Something more? We're approaching 9 o'clock. Okay. Then we thank all of you for your humbly being here. And please bless me that I will always be chastised by senior devotees for my ultimate benefit. Kantarat Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai.